It was raining again in Eugene, the kind that made the air smell like cold pine and silence. I was folding laundry, matching socks that never seemed to have pairs, when my phone buzzed on the counter. No greeting, no warning, just a single line from my mother. "We're celebrating Thanksgiving with the children who behave. Lila can skip this year." For a moment, the room felt smaller. The sound of the rain, the hum of the dryer, all of it vanished under the weight of that sentence. I read it twice, 3 times, waiting for the words to rearrange into something less cruel. They didn't. Lila sat cross-legged on the rug beside me, her tongue between her teeth, cutting shapes from orange paper. She was making leaves for her thankful tree project. She looked up, holding one toward me. "Mom, look," she said proudly. "This one's for Grandma's cookies." My throat tightened. I forced a smile that felt like glass. "That's a good one." She must have seen something in my face because her scissors stopped mid-cut. "What's wrong?" "Nothing," I said, too quickly. Then the phone lit up again. Another ping from my mother, an image of the table already set. Her caption, "Family dinner prep." "So excited for Thursday." Lila leaned over before I could turn the screen. Her eyes traced the text, slow and careful. She blinked once. Does she mean me? I wanted to say no. I wanted to lie, to protect her from the pattern I had spent half my life trying to ignore. But the truth sat there, raw and obvious. "She means both of us," I said quietly. Lila's mouth trembled. "Did I do something bad?" I knelt beside her. "You didn't do anything wrong." She nodded, like she wanted to believe me, then pressed her hands against her eyes. The paper leaves around her blurred under falling tears. Something in me shifted. Not rage exactly, but a colder certainty, a knowledge that couldn't be undone. I stood, picked up my phone, and typed back. "Understood. I'll cancel my card for the event." A second later, I watched the message mark read. No reply. Lila sniffed softly beside me, whispering through her hands. "Can we still have Thanksgiving?" I touched her hair. "Yes," I said. "Ours will be better." I stared at my phone long after the message had been marked as read. The tiny word "seen" sat there like a nail sealing something shut. In the next room, Lila was humming low, uneven, the way kids do when they're trying to distract themselves from something they don't understand. I opened my laptop, found the email thread labeled "Holiday Orders," and started clicking. Catering canceled, wine delivery canceled, florist canceled. The screen filled with confirmation notices, each one a small release. 4 years. That was how long I had paid for Thanksgiving dinners, Easter brunches, even Vivian's 60th birthday, all disguised as family contributions. Every receipt carried my name, but she took the credit. Every year. I told myself it was easier than fighting. The phone buzzed again. A group message lit up. Vivian Rowe created Thanksgiving Crew 2025. Her caption followed "Family that behaves always gets rewarded." Lila peeked around the doorway. "Is Grandma still mad?" I swallowed. "She's busy." She held up another paper leaf, a shaky heart drawn in red crayon. "Can I put this one on the tree for us?" "Of course." I watched her tape it to the cardboard trunk she'd made. "Thankful for my mom." It read. The words looked so certain, so whole. It almost hurt to see them. I scrolled through old photos, Vivian arranging centerpieces she hadn't paid for, Henry toasting with wine I had ordered, Julian smiling like he owned the room. It was strange how generosity could start to feel like self-betrayal. Lila tugged at my sleeve. "Will we still have a turkey?" "Something better," I said. "You and me." "Pancakes." "Maybe." She smiled through a sniffle. "With syrup, with too much syrup," I promised. When she went to her room, I turned off the phone. The rain outside had stopped, but the house felt newly quiet, like it was holding its breath with me. I sat in that stillness, listening to the hum of the refrigerator, and thought, So this is what peace sounds like when you finally stop paying for someone else's love. Thanksgiving morning came gray and damp, the kind that settled into your bones. Lila woke early, already wearing her paper crown from school. She padded into the kitchen, dragging her blanket like a cape. "Is today our Thanksgiving?" she asked. "It is," I said, pouring pancake batter into the skillet. "You're the chef's assistant." She grinned. "Then, I'm in charge of the syrup," while the pancakes browned. My phone buzzed again. Group messages lit the screen. Vivian posting photos of the Birch Lake dining room, polished and waiting. "Just missing the feast," her caption read. In the background, I could see Henry's reflection in the window, holding a wine glass already half full. Lila caught a glimpse and frowned. "They look happy. They're pretending," I said softly. I muted the chat, but the notifications kept stacking Julian's selfie with Henry Boy's toast before dinner, then one from Vivian family that behaves, always eats first. I flipped the pancake too hard, splattering batter across the counter. Lila giggled. "That one's mine." Outside, rain tapped the windows again. Inside, it smelled like butter and cinnamon. For the first time in years, the air didn't feel heavy. Around noon, another message arrived. Julian again. Was the catering supposed to come later this year? A few minutes later, a separate one from Vivian Eden. "Can you check the delivery confirmation?" Lila leaned closer, whispering, "You're not going to answer." "Right," I smiled at her, the kind that reached all the way through. "Not today." We ate at the counter, pancakes stacked too high, syrup dripping down the sides. Lila licked her fingers, sticky and unbothered. "Do you think Grandma will notice?" she asked. "She'll notice," I said, "just not the way she thinks." By 2 o'clock, another message blinked on screen. "Nothing's here. Call me immediately." Then, Eden, the turkey. The sides where is everything. I turned the phone face down. Lila climbed into my lap, still holding her paper crown. "Do we have to go see them later?" "No," I said. "We stay home this year." She nodded, her voice small but certain. "I like it better here." We watched the rain slide down the glass. The world outside washed pale and quiet. In the distance, my phone vibrated again, the sound muffled under the hum of the kitchen. Lila rested her head against my shoulder and whispered, "Mom, this is my favorite Thanksgiving." I kissed the top of her hair. "Mine too." By Monday, the silence broke. My phone started buzzing before I'd even poured coffee. First Henry, then Vivian, then Julian, all missed calls, one after another. I let them go unanswered until a voicemail appeared. Vivian's voice, syrupy and brittle. "We have a small issue with the bank. Nothing serious. Just call when you can. Darling, we might need your help sorting it out." I set the phone down and stared at it. "Small issue," she said. But I already knew what it was. 3 months earlier, a letter had shown up at my house, addressed to Henry and Vivian Rowe. I thought it was a mistake until I saw the return address Cascade Credit Union. Inside was a notice about a Tesla lease under Henry's name, co-signed for Julian. The car payments were 3 months overdue. Worse, the collateral listed was the Birch Lake house, the same home where they'd spent Thanksgiving laughing at a table that never got fed. I had called Vivian the day that letter came. I could still hear her voice, light and dismissive. "It's handled, Eden. Don't stress yourself over things you don't understand." But now, the second voicemail came through Henry this time, his tone softer. "Sweetheart, we're just a little behind. It's nothing you can't help us fix." Lila padded into the kitchen, rubbing her eyes. Grandma called again. "Yes," I said. "They're having some trouble." She climbed onto a stool, resting her chin on her hands. "Are you going to help them?" I looked at her, this small, hopeful child who still wanted to believe in goodness. "I'll make sure everything's okay," I said. That afternoon, I opened my laptop. The bank's portal listed the outstanding balance in a bright red countdown, 21 days until foreclosure proceedings. I stared at the number until my vision blurred. Then I transferred the money quietly, efficiently straight to the credit union. $200,000, years of savings gone in one motion. When the confirmation email arrived, I didn't feel relief, just stillness. 3 days later, Vivian called again. Her voice had that rehearsed sweetness, the tone she used when she wanted to make sure I knew my place. "Everything's settled," she said brightly. "We just heard from the bank. I knew it would be fine once you took a look. You've always been our responsible one. Anyway, let's not dwell on it. I was thinking we should take Lila shopping for Christmas. She could use some fun after all that. All that. Meaning the text, the exclusion, the tears." I said nothing. Vivian continued, "I'll pick her up Saturday. It'll be good for everyone." I could have refused, but her tone left no room for protest, like she was doing me a favor. "Fine," I said finally. "Saturday." She sounded pleased. "See, we always figure things out, don't we?" I ended the call. The kitchen felt colder than before. Lila's thankful tree still stood in the corner, one leaf half falling from the tape. I pressed it back onto the trunk, reading her handwriting again. Thankful for my mom. The words looked steadier than I felt. Saturday arrived with the kind of weak winter sun that pretends warmth but gives none. Lila woke early, bouncing with excitement, already dressed in her sparkly boots. She carried a folded list she'd written herself, tiny handwriting, uneven hearts next to each name. "Grandma said we'll go to Birch Mall," she said, eyes bright. "Can I bring my allowance?" "You can," I told her. "But remember, you don't have to buy anyone anything. Just have fun." She grinned, hugging me quick before the knock came. When I opened the door, Vivian stood there, wrapped in a camel coat, sunglasses pushed up like she'd come straight from a magazine spread. Henry hovered behind her, hands in his pockets, pretending to smile. "There's our girl," Vivian said, bending to kiss Lila's cheek. "Ready to spoil yourself a little?" Lila nodded, clutching her list. I handed her coat over and met Vivian's gaze. "Be kind to her," I said quietly. Vivian laughed lightly, as if I were joking. "Of course. She's family." They left in a rush of perfume and cold air. I watched their car pull away until it turned the corner, disappearing down Birch Avenue. Hours passed. I tried to read, to clean, to do anything but glance at the clock. 4 hours later, headlights swept across the window. The door opened. Vivian didn't meet my eyes. "Traffic was awful," she murmured, guiding Lila inside. The mall was a zoo. Lila kept her head down, one hand gripping a small paper bag. "Did you have fun?" I asked. She shrugged. "Kinda." Vivian kissed the air beside my cheek. "We didn't find much. Everything's so overpriced this year." Then she was gone, coat fluttering behind her. The door clicked shut. Lila went straight to her room. I followed, knocking softly. "Hey, can I see what you got?" She opened the paper bag and handed it over. Inside was a single rubber snowflake keychain, still in plastic. "Is that all?" She nodded. "It's fine. I didn't need anything." Her voice was too flat, too practiced. I sat beside her on the bed. "Tell me what happened." For a long time, she said nothing. Then, in a whisper, "They didn't take me shopping. They were buying presents for everyone else, for Uncle Julian's kids, for the baby." I felt my chest tighten. "And you." She shook her head. "Grandma said they already spent too much. Grandpa said at least I wasn't acting out this time. I didn't even talk. Mom." I just watched. Her lip trembled. She kept saying real grandkids shouldn't have to wait in line. I don't think she meant me. I reached for her, but she turned, burying her face in the pillow. Her shoulders shook, soundless. I sat there until her breathing steadied, the paper bag crushed between my hands. "Later," When I tucked her in, she whispered, "Did I do something wrong again?" I brushed her hair from her forehead. "You did everything right." She nodded like she wanted to believe it, then drifted off, downstairs. The house felt heavy. I emptied the bag, the little keychain clattering onto the table. Its snowflake shape caught the dim light, cheap, fragile, pretending to sparkle. I thought of Vivian's voice calling her family. Then I looked toward the stairs and whispered, "Not anymore." 2 weeks before Christmas, the knock came early sharp, impatient. I opened the door to find Henry standing there, breath visible in the cold air, his coat unbuttoned like he'd rushed from the car. "Eden," he said with a practiced smile, "you look good. Still working those long hours. Why are you here?" "Dad." He rubbed his hands together. "I wanted to talk in person. Thought it'd be better that way." I stepped aside. 5 minutes. He walked in, glancing around like he was inspecting a stranger's house. "You've done well for yourself. Cozy place. What do you need?" He cleared his throat. "It's a mess, really. The Tesla Julian's car, it's racked up fines, tolls, late fees, a few thousand. Nothing major. Just inconvenient." I waited. He continued. "They put it all under my name. You know how the system is paperwork. Confusion. I figured you could help us clear it up. Just this once more." I almost laughed. "Just this once more." I repeated. He smiled faintly, as if we were sharing a joke. "You've always been the responsible one. Eden, think of it as an early inheritance." The words landed cold. "Inheritance," I said. "For what? Paying off your son's debt. Family helps family," he said, his tone soft but edged. "You don't turn your back on that." I took a breath. Does Lila count as family? His face flickered. For a moment, I thought he might say something in apology. Maybe, but his gaze dropped to the floor. "You know what I mean." "No," I said quietly. "I don't think I do." He shifted, hands deep in his pockets, eyes darting anywhere but mine. "You've changed," he murmured. "No," I said. "I just stopped paying for other people's mistakes." The silence stretched, heavy and certain. Finally, I opened the door. "You should go." He hesitated. "Tell Lila Merry Christmas." "I will," I said, "when it means something." He stepped out into the cold without another word. The next morning, a text from Vivian appeared on my phone. "We always knew you'd punish us for not loving your mistake." I stared at the words until the screen went dark, then blocked her number. The quiet that followed didn't hurt. It felt like truth. For almost 2 weeks, there was silence. No calls, no messages, no guilt wrapped in sweetness. The quiet was new, almost strange, like a house after a storm. Then, one evening, my phone rang from an unfamiliar number. I let it go to voicemail. Later, I listened my aunt's voice, careful, rehearsed. "Eden, I don't want to get in the middle, but your parents aren't doing well. The house, the stress. Maybe you could find a little compassion." Compassion. The word felt like an echo from another life. 2 days later, the mail came thick envelope, familiar handwriting, Vivian Rowe. I almost tossed it, but something made me open it. Inside were 5 pages of looping cursive, her perfume faint and cloying. She began with nostalgia. "You were such a good child, always helping. We miss that version of you." Then came the excuses. "We weren't ready to be grandparents. Lila never felt like the rest of us. We made mistakes. But who doesn't?" She wrote about family being complicated, about sticking together when life gets hard. But beneath all the sentiment, the reason surfaced. "The bank gave us 14 days before the auction. Please don't let our legacy disappear. The Birch Lake house means too much to all of us." There it was, the truth, wearing silk. I read the letter twice. The first time as a daughter, the second as someone done pretending to be one. Then I folded it neatly, slid it into a drawer so Lila wouldn't see it in the trash. That night, while the house creaked with winter wind, I sat by the kitchen table, the letter beside me, untouched. I thought of all the years I mistook obligation for love, guilt for connection. The paper smelled like roses and smoke beautiful, but already burning. That night, I found Lila sitting at the kitchen table, coloring quietly. Her paper tree stood beside her, the edges curling where the tape had dried. She looked up when I came in. "Grandma's not calling anymore," she said. "Did something happen?" I sat across from her. "Some people don't know how to love the way they should. It's not your fault." Her crayon paused. "Because of me, because of them," I said softly. "They forget that love isn't supposed to hurt." She watched me for a long moment, eyes too old for her age. "Are we still family with them?" I took a breath. "We were, once. But family is supposed to make you feel safe. When it doesn't, you're allowed to walk away." She nodded, quiet, then said, "I thought maybe if I was really good, they'd like me again. You don't have to earn love. Lila, you just have to be yourself." She blinked hard, holding back tears. "Did I do something wrong that day at the mall?" I reached across the table, touching her hand. "You did everything right. You were kind, patient, and brave. That's what right looks like." Her shoulders relaxed a little. She looked down at her drawing, a tiny leaf half colored in. "Then, can I make a new one? For us?" "Of course." She tore a small piece of paper, wrote slowly, then showed it to me. On the leaf, in careful letters, she'd written, "Thankful for peace." I smiled. "That's perfect." She grinned, taping it to the top of the tree, higher than the rest. "Now it won't fall off," she said. I turned off the kitchen light, watching her tree glow faintly under the lamp. She yawned, gathering her crayons. "Can we have pancakes again tomorrow?" "Always," I said, and as she went upstairs, the quiet that followed didn't feel empty anymore. It felt earned. 3 weeks later, I heard it again, the same knock I'd known my whole life. 3 sharp raps, the kind that expected obedience. Through the peephole, I saw Vivian standing on the porch, her camel coat clutched tight, Henry behind her, shoulders slumped, holding a folder thick with papers. They looked smaller than I remembered. Lila came down the hall, her socks sliding on the wood floor. "Mom, someone's here." "It's them," I said. She hesitated. "Should I open it?" "No, sweetheart. Go upstairs. Put your music on." "Okay." She nodded, quiet, and disappeared up the stairs. When I heard her door close, I unlocked mine just enough to open it a crack. Vivian's eyes flickered, relief flashing across her face. "Eden, thank God. We didn't know if you'd even answer." "I shouldn't have," I said. Henry stepped forward. "We just need a few minutes." "I gave you years," I replied. Vivian clutched the folder. "You don't understand. The bank made mistakes. There's still a way to stop the auction, but we need funds to file. It's not much. We've taken steps. I cut her off. You made your steps clear when you called my child a mistake." She blinked, caught off guard. "Eden, you can't hold on to that forever. People say things they don't mean when they're hurt." I felt my jaw tighten. "You were never hurt. You were cruel. That's different." Henry's voice was low. "We're losing our home." "Eden, it stopped being a home the day you used it as collateral for Julian's car," I said. He flinched, eyes dropping to the porch. Vivian's tone softened, a fragile imitation of the mother I once needed. "We're still your parents. You'll regret letting it go." I stepped closer to the doorframe. I already regret everything I paid for to keep it standing. She opened her mouth again, but I spoke first. You had every chance to love her, to love me. You turned them into debts. Vivian's hand trembled on the folder. At least let Lila write us. She shouldn't forget her family. I met her eyes. You made sure she never will. The words hung there, heavy and final. Henry looked like he wanted to speak, but Vivian touched his arm and shook her head. They turned, walking down the steps without another word. I watched them cross the driveway. The wind caught a paper from the folder, sending it tumbling across the yard like something already lost. When their car disappeared, I closed the door, turned the lock, and leaned against it. Upstairs, Lila's music played faintly through the ceiling, something soft, a melody rising and falling like breath. I exhaled, slow and steady. The house didn't feel empty. It felt whole. 19 days later, the Birch Lake house sold. I didn't check the listing, didn't scroll through the photos, didn't care who bought it. Still, I knew the date it was written in the corner of the letter Vivian had sent. When the news finally reached me, I was sitting with Lila at the kitchen table, helping her with homework. She looked up when I went still. Did something happen? She asked. I hesitated. Just something ending. She smiled softly, as if she understood more than she should. Sometimes that's good. Right, it can be. I said. Outside. The rain started again, a quiet rhythm against the window. Lila turned back to her notebook, drawing tiny leaves in the margins. The little thankful tree stood beside her, fuller now, each paper leaf covered in words, peace, pancakes, quiet mornings, us. I watched her tape another one to the top. What's that one say? I asked. She read it carefully. Thankful for new beginnings. I smiled. That's a good one. For a long moment, we just sat there, the kind of silence that didn't ask to be filled. Then she said, "Do you think Grandma and Grandpa will be okay?" "I think they'll live the way they've always lived." I answered, "But we'll live differently." She nodded, satisfied, and went back to her drawing. Later that night, when she was asleep, I stood at the window, watching the rain slide down the glass. I thought of that house at Birch Lake, the porch light that used to guide me home, the kitchen where I learned silence before I learned anger. And for the first time, I didn't feel pulled back to it. The door behind me was locked, not out of fear, but choice. I whispered to the quiet. For years, I kept them standing by paying their bills. Now I keep us standing by walking away. The rain softened to a steady hush. Upstairs, Lila stirred, turning in her sleep. I looked once more at her little paper tree, glowing faintly in the lamplight. The highest leaf read, "Thankful for peace." I left it there and turned off the light.